I couldn't be any more on brand for our sponsor if I tried. I'm Rob. This is BSTN, and it is what's today's date? The 7th, May 7th of 2026. AI is no longer or not yet sentient. Thank you for the update on LinkedIn. I'm gonna take the hat off. There's too much pink going on. I got a pink guitar, pink super background, pink shirt. This is the Breakthrough Sales Tactics Network, brought to you by Supered, somebody that creates accountability, accessibility. Trying out new slogans here. We have 4 shows today, 4 of them. That's right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are with genuinely interesting people. First up, we have Pardon the POV, a weekly staple featuring Matt and a new guest, a new co-host this week, Lindsay Smith. So shout out to Lindsay Smith for doing that. We also have another Lindsay Rios. She is the fractional CRO at Luminetics now. She's all over LinkedIn, and she can tell you how to make your pipeline not poopy. That's on Numbers Known with me. We also have Show Me Your Tech Stack with the founder of First Touch, Michael Kurson. They may or may not have a big launch coming out next week. You should pay attention to it. And then finally, we have Fast and Curious with Matt and Ash Collyer, an elite HubSpot partner. I know being here and watching me talk with all the pink on isn't why you joined today. So without much further ado, I'm going to kick it off. Starting off with Pardon the POV today. Here it is.
What is up, everybody? Today I'm recording on my birthday, even though I don't. I would never. What am I saying? I'm saying this is the only place I'd want to be right now with you and Lindsay Smith, the Chaos Goblin herself, the Queen of Dark Rays and happiness, and she's here. Thank you for joining us today with that big bolt.
Let's go. Let's do it.
I forgot to look at the screen, so Robert, feel free to give me more feedback. Let us go, Robert. Give me my birthday question.
My feedback is that you're frozen, so I don't know how the production is going to work with that, but hopefully you don't look as dumb throughout the whole conversation as you do right now on my screen. Lindsay, is he frozen on your screen?
He is frozen on
there
my
he goes.
Nope, there he goes. But I mean, I was going to say it might make it easier for me if he's frozen, because then I can't get looks on anything I say.
Every time you say something really smart, I'm going to go super, and we're going to
A few show notes here. One, you both match. So the branding is very strong. Congratulations. You look great. Lindsay, you look better than Matt, but that's
Always.
Not telling anybody anything they didn't already know. 2, Matt, I know you're not as familiar with showbiz, but you just buried the lead. I was supposed to introduce you as your birthday so we could get some applause. So I don't even know if I should ask this question, but here we go. Pretend you didn't hear the first minute and 30 of this show. Before we get into the data and the questions, happy birthday, Matt Bolian. You're 70. I know you look a little bit younger than that, but in the spirit of this show, raises an immediate and provocative question. Every year on your birthday or on somebody's birthday, people have the same ritual. You have a cake, you gather people around, you sing the song, you look at the cake, you make a wish, you blow out the candles, blah, 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 blah. Nobody trained you to do this necessarily. Your manager didn't. There's no documentation. There's no manager enforcing it. You just do it habitually, correctly every year. Here's the question. You ready for me to land this plane? A sales rep is more likely to consistently follow a process they invented themselves than one handed down from leadership. Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1.
Agree. You're supposed to say agree or disagree, Lindsay.
I'm thinking. I
have to say it in the 3 seconds.
I hate that rule. Agree. It's not going to be a great debate, but I agree.
We'll let Matt go first since he was prepared.
If people help create the thing they're following, they're more likely to participate in it. The reality is most reps have bad practices, and they don't celebrate their birthday like me, and they work during their birthday like me. And the only way to if I will follow this process, the only way to get me out of it is to someone inspect me and tell me that's not good for me. So the reality is yes, it is more likely for reps to follow the process they help make, and you don't want them to make the process often.
All right, listen, that's all well and good. My stance on the agree is it depends on if your rep respects your leadership. Because if they're looking at a process that your leadership created and they're like, well, that's dumb, they're going to do their own thing. So it does kind of come down to being in a leadership position of being able to enforce it in a way that your rep isn't going to look at you and be like, that's stupid. So there's a danger of a lot of leaders kind of lead because they can't do. So you want to, in that co-creation vein that Matt talked about, is work with your team to see what they're doing and make sure that they're going to all follow the same process.
That is the gong of righteousness on Matt's birthday. I award the first point to Matt only because it's his birthday, not that he had a better answer. Matt, bonus follow-up. What is your birthday process? What are you doing today? Aside from whatever your wife tells you, which was, by the way, one of my favorite answers to that question ever. What are you doing?
I woke up around 3 a.m. to work on Super's new website. And I am then going to do work today. And then I'm going to take my kids to soccer practice, and then I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to go sleep.
Looking for the boo sound effect. I don't have it. I wish you a happy birthday regardless, Matt. You need some sleep. The real question, thanks for everybody wishing Matt happy birthday. Real question, question one. Enablement ROI problem. A lot of investing, but no measuring, right? Matt, I think you'll love this question. So the 2026 State of Sales Enablement by Super, shout out to the Lightning Bolt, found that teams relying on training sessions as their primary process delivery mechanism hit quota at about 12%. That sucks, yet enablement teams globally continue to invest majority of their budget in content, training, LMS. The question isn't whether enablement matters, it clearly does. The question is whether the industry has been measuring outputs wrong for so long nobody noticed the investment wasn't working. Data shows only 15% of respondents reach 76 to 100% of quota attainment. Question to Lindsay and Matt. Sales enablement industry has fundamentally misallocated its investment for the last decade, really 6 years since COVID, building content and training when it should have been building environments and enforcement infrastructure. Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1.
Disagree. There you go.
Ooh, Lindsay, you get to go first this time.
So I agree that the sales enablement industry has misallocated its investment because it's been building things that disintegrate, that they are a liability. Once you create it, you put it wherever you keep it, it's going to die, but you're still paying someone whatever their salary is to go make it, and then no one cares about it. So like they're spending so much time building content and training that the State of Sales Enablement found that no one follows. And so that's a misallocation. They don't have the structure.
Matt, your rebuttal.
The question said, have they misallocated for the last 10 years? They've misallocated for the last 30. So thus I disagree. The most important thing we found is always and will always be accountability. And if you have a process and you expect someone to do it, you must inspect it. To be able to inspect it, you must be able to see it. And so you have to be able to see, you have to know what your behaviors are to be, and you must inspect it. And the infrastructure is non-existent to execute on that. We have input-based training, which is teach somebody before they do. You do not have outcome or output-based. So that's what Super does. I feel very strongly on that. I'm betting my house on it. That I think strongly enough. Yeah, it's been 30 years, not 10.
I give Matt the point on this one just because of how petty it was, disagreeing and changing the question to 30. That was actually well done by you, Matt. So I give you the point for that. Moving on to question, whatever question this is, 3. In your handbooks, it's question 3. The buyer has already decided. Lindsay, I incorporated some questions in here that you can speak directly to from your role.
Thank you.
No pressure at all with the next 2 questions. So this question, the buyer has already decided social proof is the new sales motion. Okay, that's the theme. So there's a question that used to belong to the sales team and now belongs to the customer. Is this company trustworthy? A decade ago, the answer lived in a lot of different places, mostly a sales conversation as it pertains to sales reps. The rep was the credibility vehicle. They had case studies, they had the connection. Today, buyers arrive having already read the G2 reviews. Shout out to Super for having 70 plus, quickest ever to do that. Anyway, they have LinkedIn posts, they have colleagues feedback, they have Reddit, they have a ton of different channels where they can verify like trustworthiness and like the solution that a company offers. That number has only grown as different communities, review platforms, and specifically AI assisted research have made self-directed eval the default. Question: social proof and peer community have become more influential than direct sales outreach in early stage B2B buying decisions. Agree or disagree? 3,
Agree.
2,
I'm not even gonna wait for
1.
the countdown. I feel so strongly about this. Hard agree. Hard agree.
Someone needs to inspect you following the process. What I gotta say.
You know what, y'all? I got signed up for this about 6 minutes before we went to recording. So I'm here. And
Execution is a moat. We love it.
Super.
Don't ask, just do.
Matt, do you agree or disagree?
I agree. Not necessarily for the reasons. Let's give a big background. Is it's already been trending to this. We call it the dark funnel. People self-educating to the point before they code on the website and push demos, so people would come up pre-educated. And a lot of our resources are trying to educate, like find attribution to understand what's working. This has become more so, not because of the user's ability necessarily. Yes, there's AI, but that's not the real thing. It is what AI is producing and the content you find, you no longer trust. So even if you're being educated and you're searching, so what happens is people are going further into their network, further into experiences with people to talk to real people, because talking to a real person is now a luxury item, and thus people are going there first because the rest of the world is full with talking to bots, talking to Claudia or OpenAI. Thus, that's right.
I can tell you're passionate, bit of a rant. And speaking of luxury items, talking to real humans, Lindsay Smith is about to answer. Lindsay, you said you agree. Why is that?
I have a hard agree for this because, I mean, all of the AI fancy salesy talk aside, when it comes to buying anything, you're going to trust people you know who are using it way above a salesperson who's trying to hit a quota. Like, you know, you're going to run into a salesperson who's going to try to sell you the moon, and they're not actually going to be able to do that, but they're going to try to get you to believe it. But if your friend that you've known for 10 years is using this product and they're like, this is the greatest product, it's changed my life, I'm going to go buy that product. Sales process be damned.
You left some time on the clock. I will take the rest of your time. I love this question so much because I asked Matt and Brendan separately at one point who they get their information from. And I know Matt famously doesn't answer cold calls, texts, even from people that he knows. Matt, return my call, by the way. But there's like different circles that are, I don't know if associated with function or title, but like founders groups, mentor groups, people that you would trust and that have most importantly had the same type of experiences as you. Matt, can you speak to this a little bit from not a lecture standpoint, but an advice standpoint? So if you are, because I also know that you believe that the salesperson, it's on the salesperson to still have the context to be able to speak to problems, right? And assist. If you believe in the product and you're a good salesperson, then you will continue prospecting into an account because you believe that it will help them. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I disagree with why Lindsay agreed, which is a bad salesperson tries to sell you a moon and you don't ever want to go to the moon. A good salesperson knows who you are, can talk your vernacular, and teaches you something on the calls to challenge your sale. They know you better than you know yourself. And the value a salesperson brings, is, hey, I talked to like 20 of you, 100 of you. I talk to other people with your same problem sets. Here's how they're solving this said problem. And here's how to think about the world. And if you're trying to think about the world this way, we solve this specific problem set. And by the way, you should go talk to this vendor and this vendor and this vendor. So to be a good salesperson is to know the problem better than the person that's coming to talking to you. And that's the issue, is salespeople don't only know their product, only know their feature, and don't ever understand truly why the heck that person, what they're actually trying to solve and who they are and who they're talking to. That's what they do.
My heart rate got up with that. Very exciting. I like the clarification in that you agreed disagree with why Lindsay agreed, but explained it pretty well. Anyway, here is question 4. Speeding through Matt's birthday episode pretty well. Post-sale is the new pipeline. I think Matt likes this question too in regards to NRR and retention. For most of the history of B2B software sales, the customer journey had a clear handoff point. Contract signed, AE handed it to CX, CS, sales team moved on to the next deal. That model is under significant pressure. Expansion revenue, upsells, cross-sells, renewals now represents the majority of ARR for many SaaS businesses. While Matt drops his super thing, it probably landed right next to Mark Roberge's book where he talked about an indicator of retention. Anyway, research from Bain and Company suggested increasing customer retention rates by even 5% increases profits 25 to 95%. Holy smokes. Customer relationship that the AE builds or doesn't build during the sales motion is the foundation for that retention. The question is now this: the post-sale customer experience is more dependent on how the sales process was run than on anything the customer success team does afterward. And most orgs draw the handoff line in the wrong place. Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1.
Agree.
Disagree.
Got some fireworks. Matt, I think is it your turn?
No. But
Lindsay, go ahead.
Matt will always go first if you let him. I do agree that the customer experience is dependent on how the sales process was run, because there's so much that is done in a sales process, and a good salesperson will set up their relationship and the expectations and all of that, and it creates that perfect storm of a handoff to customer success. If that expectations aren't set with that salesperson and anything else that the customer is kind of needing, you're going to run into a situation where your customer either doesn't want to talk to your customer success team, or not even they won't want to talk to them, and they will be so dependent and clingy to their salesperson that that whole relationship disintegrates. So it really is an important thing to be able to retain your customers, to have your AE create that really good relationship before they hand off anything.
Can't find any fault in that, Matt. You disagreed.
Yeah, first I disagree with the question. It's actually 2 questions. The first question is the post-customer success more dependent on the sales process? Yes or no. The second is the organization draw the handoff line in the wrong place? Yes or no. So I answer these in order, so I expect 2 minutes. Question number 1. Question number 1, post-customer experience is more dependent on the sales process. I fundamentally disagree with this attitude, and I just would never agree with it. When someone is your customer, they are your customer, and it is your job, whether they got pooped on before and they hate you, it is your job to make them love you and the product. And you own the experience, and whoever owns the experience better freaking own the experience. And this is a question that is actually an excuse, and I hate excuses. So number 2 is do most organizations draw the handoff in the wrong place? I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say yes. Yes. AI has decentralized intelligence. The difference between going from sales to CS, and there is a reorganization as we've specialized in SDRs who only get new leads, AEs who close deals, CS, or even implementation that does onboardings, and then account managers who expand and retain. That entire framework that was built in the last 10 to 20 years, last 2 decades, is being questioned because intelligence has been decentralized, and humans can now think about more and have greater capacity to do more. And now they can focus on what? The relationship, which goes back to question 1. What's the most important thing in the whole point? How do you create relationships? Is there a world where AEs are also CS? Maybe. We'll find out how AI decentralizes intelligence and what its impact is. It's very interesting in that one.
Love the answer. I award the point to Lindsay only because when it comes to being able to maintain, increase a relationship, both from an experience and revenue standpoint, something that impacts both the buyer and seller, if you will. I don't think there's a person better in the entire universe than the person on this call wearing the pink super hat.
Look, I'm hearing that no matter how I answered this, Lindsay automatically wins.
That is correct. Yeah, you sniffed me out there.
On the board.
Okay.
She could have dropped from the call and would have gotten the point. 100%.
Okay.
Last question. We have a couple minutes left. Last question we have is the AI strategy trap. Matt, you only get 10 seconds on this one. Just kidding. Buying the tool before defining the problem. So 2026 State of Sales Enablement asked 200 revenue professionals about AI. Average impact score was 3.2 out of 5. So nothing too amazing there. Most common complaint, AI isn't embedded in the workflow. 38% said that. Second most common, too early to tell. 36% said that. The two answers have this in common. Both describe an organization that purchased a capability before defining how it would be used. And the data shows underneath the headline that high AI impact teams have 40% process adherence. Low AI impact teams, say that 5 times fast, have 21%. AI didn't create that gap. The process did, or a lack of process did. So the question is this: most orgs buying AI sales tools are solving a procurement problem, not a performance problem. And the gap between what AI promises and what it delivers is almost entirely explained by the absence of a defined process. Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1.
Agree.
Disagree, I think.
Super.
Matt, take it away.
We hear this over and over again, and it sounds, I'm tired of hearing it, which is, if you have AI accentuates or makes more of whatever is pre-existing. That's essentially what this is saying. If I am CROs and CEOs and boards and VCs and Ps are being told, go buy AI, get AI, make your team AI native, and they're solving a purchasing and procurement mandate, they are not actually solving productivity or efficiency. And so the teams that already have a process that are well established are going to win when AI is added, and those that don't are going to make problems worse. That's why you see the difference, and that's why I agree.
Love that. Lindsay, your thoughts?
Ugh. Thoughts are a strong word for what I have. I feel like everyone's approaching AI as a band-aid to something that isn't working. Like they're trying to use AI for more procurement, but if their procurement right now, they don't have a process for that, they shouldn't be looking at AI tools for that yet, because AI only knows what you tell it. It's not a magic bullet. It's not going to come in and magically fix your process. So I don't know. I feel like it's
So
all fancy. I guess I agree.
Now you agree with me? I like it. Good.
I'm just saying, like I said, thought on what I have on this is a really strong phrase.
Lindsay, you would have been awarded the point had you just had the conviction to disagree with Matt just for the hell of it. But since you reneged and changed your answer, I have to award Matt the point. I would have liked to see you just disagree just to take a different stance. Matt, as winner of today's episode, Lindsay, you win by being here. This was my favorite one to do. You look great in the pink hat, the matching bolt, so thank you. But Matt, final word on your birthday to the audience.
Have fun and mind the gap.
That's all the time we have for today on Pardon the POV. I'm Rob, he's Matt, she's Lindsay, and we'll see you next week.
Adios, everybody.
Some incredibly cool stuff from Matt and Lindsay there on the service turning into sales, on Matt's thoughts and opinions. Happy birthday, Matt, a day late. Thanks for recording that yesterday. We're going to kick it over to a quick commercial break because this is a network. So here is a commercial. There is somebody who's one of the better salespeople I've ever met and featured in this clip, and an interesting event concept. Here you go.
Reviewing me.
Wait a minute.
You want to show people
Why do I see Skipbo cards? Is this what I'm?
So he drew the Uno reverse, which means now. Do you have any questions for me, Matt?
What's your bench press regimen?
Right now, I'm on a bit of a kind of loading, deload period. I can do 40 reps at 135, and the other day I hit 225, the combine weight, for 15 reps. So
You're making us all look really bad right now.
well, I don't plan to be drafted this year, but you never know.
Okay.
Actually, it was 17 reps at 225. Super keeps you strong. Shout out to Matt Furman and Red Partners for that. That was at the Southbound event. We have more spicy takes, opinions, people disagreeing with each other coming up after this. Lindsay Smith was a guest on Pardon the POV, co-host, I should say. And I was fortunate enough to interview somebody that's been all over your LinkedIn feeds for quite a while. It is Lindsay Rios on this episode of Numbers Known. I'm here on Numbers Known again with probably our most famous guest we've ever had. It's going to take me a minute. I've been doing vocal exercises for this introduction, so here it is. Our guest today has more titles than Serena Williams and Katie Ledecky combined. She is the CRO of Luminetics, board advisor for Rework Training, channel leader for Revenue United, owner of GTM Done Right, co-host of Your Future Biz podcast, one of the 100 most powerful women in sales and top 20 in go-to-market. She's a mom. She's the queen of cleaning up poopy pipelines. It's Lindsay Rios.
Wow. I didn't even know I had that many titles.
It's pretty. We should just end the podcast right now, right? I mean, I don't think I can do better than that.
I feel good. I'm going to quit most of those titles right now. Actually, I've done it.
How are you doing, Lindsay? It's Dance Party Friday. I've been watching your videos and content and thought leadership for quite a while. It's pretty cool to talk to you. What's been going on in your world?
What's been going on in my world? Baseball, honestly. Baseball season, it just takes over my life. It really does.
It is forever, right? I mean, imagine major leagues. Like, should you have two sons?
I have three.
Okay, even better odds to make the majors, but like that's 162 games, almost between spring training, playoffs, October. It's virtually the entire year.
It's basically the entire year. So it's like between the length of the season, the length of games, when you go to games, the length of the practice, like I don't really know why I agreed to it, to be quite honest.
I have a list of 3 numbers that are very interesting and intended to spawn conversation as to who you are, why you are the way you are, what you do, what you believe in, kind of what you stand for. Very lofty goal. Hopefully we can get that. You also brought 3 numbers. My first number for you is 0. And I'm relying on some source data both from LinkedIn, Claude, and a podcast you did to hope this is right. 0. Any idea what that is?
Nope. Can't wait to hear about it.
So I'm wading off into the deep end. If this question is good, then this podcast will go well. 0 is the number of med school applications sent. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that you were pre-med all the way through undergrad. You sold minis and BMWs. You were in car sales. I was in car sales for a while, and then got into sales and then decided to just do that. I think you were going to become like a pediatric neurologist.
Yep.
Background in psychology. I was a behavioral therapist at an inpatient facility for a while. When I saw this question, I was like, this could be the best interview episode that I've done. So 0 med school applications sent. First question from that is, from that background, what are like the biggest 1 to 2 lessons or takeaways, behavioral or psychological, that you still apply every day in your new set of roles, right? So CRO, sales leadership.
When you're in pre-med of any sort, it's you have to be a really good student. And what I mean by that is you can't just be like naturally smart and then just kind of get away with it to do a great job. You have to also just be like, oh, I have to be disciplined and I have to learn how to properly study, not like the thing the night before. And when I was like in high school, I didn't really study. And so when you go to a school, like I went to UC Irvine, and everyone there is a nerd and wants to be a doctor more or less, or an engineer. It's like 2 of their best things. And I mean, you got to up your game. I just really learned about how the really boring and monotonous things that you don't really want to do, though, are the things that will most often set you up for really like a lot of success. So whenever I'd end up taking like a midterm or a final and someone go, oh, how do you think you did? I would know. I'm like, I got an A on that. And they'd be like, well, how do you know? I'm like, because I know. I knew all the answers. I knew how to take that test. If I left a midterm or a final thinking, I'm not really sure how I didn't prepare, and I probably didn't do well. That's the thing that I saw, even just like getting into sales. It's like, there's a lot of reputation I think salespeople get for just, oh, you're a smooth talker, or you have a great personality. And it's like, that's not actually what makes the best sellers. The best sellers are the ones willing to do the really boring, monotonous, disciplined things. And if you happen to also have a great personality and be a smooth talker and a fantastic active listener, then obviously then you're really going to be great. But that's something that just rings true in sales. It's not the tricks.
I love everything about that answer. The study habits, number one. Going to play that clip for my 12-year-old who figured out this year that study habits are important to have.
There's so much that I have told my people I've managed. It's the exact same things I tell my kids. But nobody makes you feel anyway. So, I mean, you can't make me feel anyway. I make me feel. That's my job, my responsibility, to be responsible for my own emotions and my own reactions. However, that person could be a major catalyst as to why I'm feeling that way, right? I try to teach my kids constantly to not say that statement, and I try not to say it to them. And I totally still do, but I'll be like, instead of me being you guys are making me very upset right now, it's you're not responsible for my feelings. However, the actions that are happening right now, it's making it really difficult for me to be the type of mommy that you like being around, right?
Right.
Well, I've had conversations with the people I've managed before, because you get pretty emotional. I mean, in any job, but especially in sales, you really tie your self-worth to the number on the board, which is something that we really should be doing, but it's what happens. And when you get upset about how things are going, it's going to affect how well you do. So I try to explain to my sellers, my managers, whomever I was mentoring and leading, there's very few things that we actually have control of in life at the end of the day. So be happy that you get to control your reactions and your behaviors. In sales, you get very frustrated as a seller when you cannot control the outcome, because you're hired and you're responsible for closing revenue, right? You are an outcome-based, performance-based role. And when you feel blocked from being able to do that for whatever reason, whether it's yourself or external factors, you're going to tend to be emotional about it. And the way that you're going to end up reacting is going to dictate kind of what can happen next. So instead of trying to not take accountability, which is essentially what starts happening, trying to blame it on other things, right? Get actually excited about the fact that you get to control the way that you're going to react or behave next, because there's very little that you really do get to control.
We just did a survey. 89-90% of teams have a process. Only 36% of people follow it. That shows improvisation, and it shows that people aren't being accountable to what's expected of them to do.
Well, there's so many things to unpack there, right? I mean, there's just so many variables as to why that might be happening. Anytime I see people though, they're like, oh, some roles just have to be in person, for the energy or and I am like, it's bullshit. So no, I don't believe that. However, I think, one, is your process any good?
Yep.
Or is it a stupid process, right? Because no one's going to follow processes that are stupid. They're not useful if they're over-processed, under-processed, so much to just dig into that topic alone. But I would even say before the process exists, what's the relationship between the people that are having to create the process and then the people having to follow the process? And a lot of people don't like hearing that stuff, but that's going to kind of be what it comes down to. I mean, do your sellers care about you? Do they want to listen to you? Do they respect you? Are you helpful to them? Do you make their jobs more successful? Because if that's not the kind of relationship that's already happening, I don't care what process you ask them to do. They're not going to follow it.
Your first number. You're
3.
up. 3. I learned earlier that's the amount of kids you have. Is that... There we go. Look at that.
Yeah.
1 for 1.
Yeah, you almost I got 3 boys.
You're somebody that is very much in this executive space, a CRO at Luminetics. How do you find time to be baseball mom and do these different roles and be in the seats that you're in and add value to other people, manage teams? How do you find the time to do all of that? What does that priority matrix look like?
Have you seen that clip of, what's that guy's name? Ron Fuchs or something like that, that comedian? He's really funny.
Probably.
Oh, Funches, not Fuchs. you recognize him if you saw him, but he's on, I don't know if it's like Kelly Clark, some talk show. And they're like, you know, like you do everything, or you do like, how do you do it all? And he just goes, I don't. I'm very tired.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Right. And so I get asked that a lot because I'm very open and I share on LinkedIn about like all the things that I do. So I think it gives that appearance. But I mean, that's my response. I'm like, oh, I don't do everything. And I am very tired. But what I will actually say to that is when I sold cars, I was doing that for 5 years, which is a culture that is pretty terrible usually overall, certainly has nothing to do with trying to have any life balance, and definitely not great for when you are a mom in particular. Like maternity leave was like not properly done at the dealership I was at, just because like they were not accustomed to having to know what to do with a woman having a baby. When I left that, I was very, very lucky to have gone to a really great startup for 5 years. And it was also local. I live in the East Bay of the Bay Area. I do not live near San Francisco. Getting to San Francisco is very difficult. And at that time, that's where you would go if you wanted to work for startups and tech companies, right? And when you're young and you want to live in the city with like 10 other people in a closet, like good for you, right? But I didn't want to do that. And I didn't live, you know, and I already had a family. It was about me sticking to my non-negotiables, about what was most important to me as to why I wasn't interested in going into the city for those roles too. It wasn't about being unwilling to like start, you know, at a low level and work up. It was really more about that's a non-negotiable because of my family is my priority. Then when I left that startup we're getting acquired, I actually went to HubSpot and was fully remote. And they were really trying to coin the fully remote thing before the pandemic happened. So we had, you know, a baby, we had one that was going off to college, and then we had a 4-year-old, and it was like, oh, he's going to start kindergarten. And I just remember being like, I'm never going back to an office ever again. No matter what happens from here on out, I will not be doing that. Now, I get to say that because I'm in an industry where remote is a possibility. My husband doesn't. So, you know, there's that. But I have never gone back to even considering a job that would require me to be in an office and or commute. And I tell people all the time, they're like, you could work for Salesforce, you could do this, and you can make all this money. And I'm like, I don't care. So the reason why I can take my kids to baseball and I can have my own business and I can create content on LinkedIn that supports my business and I can whatever else is because I chose it to be that way.
I love that. I love that it's a non-negotiable. My second number for you, 1,014.
Okay.
This is a deep cut. These are all attempted to be deep cuts, but here it is. 1,014 is the percentage that Chris Harbert grew by after joining the Next Wave by Luminetics. There's a post about it. Impressions were up 1,000%. Engagement up 1,500%. He said, "Your boy was boring as you can fill in the blank." And the TLDR, like he found his voice in his POV. Finally, the quote was, "Finally sounds like somebody worth listening to." My question for that: how deeply do you believe that your POV/voice is something that, one, everyone can learn to do, and two, everyone should learn to do?
I know I used the word should earlier. I notice it every time I do. I really try to actually not ever use that word though. But that being said, every single person has a point of view. I might not like it. I might not agree with it, but everyone has one. Everyone could be sharing it really, really well. And, you know, dare I say, I'll flirt with should. Like, yes, you should. Everyone should be talking about their point of view. More people are terrified than not to do it. I only started doing anything actively on LinkedIn less than 3 years ago. And I did it when I started my fractional business because I knew that I had to start creating a personal brand and I wanted something to contribute to my pipeline. But I didn't know that I was sharing a point of view in particular when I started writing things. Someone had told me like, yeah, you're really unapologetic about sharing your point of view. And it made me, I'm like, oh, like I almost took it as like, oh, am I like a little, like in an aggressive way? And he was like, no, it's just, you're standing out because not a lot of people will do it. They'll post something, whether they do it on purpose or not, hoping people will agree with them, right? They're doing it because they want people to go, yes. That's not how you're posting. You're posting whether someone agrees with you or not. This is your opinion about how you should be successful in writing a strategy or how to grow your revenue or whatever it might be. I didn't have a worry if someone was going to agree with me or not. I was just doing it because that's what I believed. So it doesn't have to be so serious, but when you're doing it for even just like work related, if you only post something hoping that people agree, one, you'll never stand out. And then two, like, how will anyone know what you stand for? How would they know they want to work with you or hire you, be your customer of any sort? We connect with each other as human beings before we're going to care about, can you solve my problem? Because here's the thing, it's really rare out there. I know we all don't like hearing this, but like, it's rare that we're the only company or the only person who can solve someone's problem. There's a lot of people who do the same thing or companies that do the same thing. So where are we going to go when we need it solved? We're going to go with the person we like doing it with.
Just before the call, going through some event content footage and interviews that we did. And one of those was about like what's more important, the badges, the accreditations, the website, like the experience or the method in which you deliver. And I've been part of like threads, emails, close one revenue that was like, everything else was roughly the same. The way that you guys ran your sales process and showed up and had an opinion and were consultative and not like, that made the difference. So it's actually not what you were offering or a cost. It was how you showed up that was the, differentiating factor.
Yeah.
Man, I can see why you're on all these lists now of 100 most powerful women, and say like you're on the Mount Rushmore already, and we're only in question 2.5. Your second number for you, 3 was the first. Number of kids helps you with non-negotiables. What is the second number? I'll see if I can guess this one also.
7.
Is it your lucky bingo number?
No, I've never been good at bingo.
I have no idea. What is 7?
When Mandy and I decided we wanted to start doing something together, she kind of mentioned something around 7, like being a number that she's always liked. And no, I don't know if it's in our thread. I'm trying to remember like how it got brought up, but something had happened recently too, where I was like, yeah, like something about 7 for me happened that was really good too. And it was because we were trying to decide how we wanted to price the next week. By the way, people, like half the time when you're trying to create pricing for your stuff, it's literally like, we'll try this. It really can be. I mean, you have to do a certain level of research, but we're like, okay, this is where we know this should be priced overall, but what's the actual number we want to use? And so then there was something about 7. So what you'll find, a little Easter egg, is Mandy and I always have 7 at the end of the pricing of the things that we have. It's $97 if you do the monthly. It's $9.97 when you're doing yearly, for our like first tier, like, self-serve kind of like one. And when we're doing our larger clients with the bigger things, it'll always end up in a 7.
How many people have asked about that as like a pricing factor? Does that also serve as like an icebreaker or to build rapport or trust? Or is that just, like you said, an Easter egg of sorts?
It's I don't think anyone, so far.
I'm asking about it now.
Yeah.
I'm the first one.
Now, you're first person because I pointed it out, but like no one's actually been like, so what's the deal with all your 7s?
Love it. That, if anything, to me is like an element of personality, and it's a way to differentiate, right? So POV could be that. I don't think copy or branding applies to as many people anymore that especially use AI to enhance or augment or whatever, but something that it's like the blue dot theory or purple dot theory, right? If you have a whole wall that's white and you have one dot on it, people are going to immediately notice that as the thing that stands out, right? So in a sea of competitors or pricing pages where it's all very, very copy pasted, having just that on there can be a differentiator. I like it. I will keep your secret safe until this comes out.
It's okay. It's not a secret.
I have one more. I know I'm hoping you're good on time for one more because we have yapped. This one is the craziest one. I'm going to try to shorten this. 54 is my third number. You're never going to guess, so I'll
No.
just tell you.
Okay.
Okay. This, I mean, it's a long-winded, this is going to be a journey. As of April 2026, Major League Baseball's automated balls and strike system has a roughly 54% success rate in overturning calls, over 1,000 plus. I think it's 1,300 challenges used. Catchers have been the most successful people, like 64%, hitters under 50%. All right, where the hell am I going? I know that you were a baseball mom. The best people in the world at evaluating criteria for whether something is a ball and strike are successful about 50% of the time. So when we talk about accountability, measurement, even the capacity to measure something, right, whether it be in a CRM or in a process, is like one of the most important things you can do. And even the best people in the world need like legitimately robotic assistance to do that. The question becomes like, I mean, it's what I wrote down earlier. Is your process stupid? Are you actually helping your people? Is it a process or people issue when it comes to accountability, when it comes to following what the expectations are?
Yeah, well, I just don't think it's one or the other, usually ever. I have two very like core offerings that I do for my fractional business. One is called ICP-AF, which actually technically stands for Aligned Framework, even though it does it. And then the other one is the Forecast Fix, which is when I fix poopy pipelines. And the thing is if you look at it, there's kind of three main phases for each of these offerings. It's a combination of very people-y things and processy data things. It's when a company has a poopy pipeline problem, that is not as simple as, oh, well, it's just some rev ops that needs to be done. No, because there's a big cultural shift that we're going to have from literally your brand new SDR that started today to you as the CEO and founder. Like, you need to understand that there is a culture that is created in organizations about pipelines and how we treat them, why we do or don't care about them. And then us as leaders about how we teach and enforce the pipelines to be done. And then there's the whole and then there's a way that you create the actual CRM systems and how many properties do you require to be filled out and not, and all that, because when you require too many, they will always figure out a way to bypass it. It's not helpful. You don't require enough, you don't get good data. I need both really as accurate as possible data and opinions and culture and insight from sellers and the leaders to be able to make a great forecast happen. It cannot be one or the other.
Another metaphor, because I like metaphors to understand things, is if your son is trying to go from 65 to 75 or 75 to 85, pitching, right, miles per hour. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the number is initially, as long as you know what it is so that you can improve it. If I'm doing a half marathon, I don't start out by running a half marathon. I probably need to know what my mile time is and what my metrics are so that I can inform a program that is based on iterating improvements rather than just not knowing what the metric is that I'm aiming to improve. Your thoughts?
Yeah, actually that was, I did a live last week around social selling. And mainly around DMs and how to do it well. And one of the things I did talk about was the goals, the KPIs around it, and why it was important. Because if you want to use DMs as a method of contributing to your pipeline, then you should probably create some very simple goals around how many are you doing? How well are they going? Which are the most effective? How much time is this taking you, right? Because otherwise you won't know if it's actually worth doing, right? So giving yourself a baseline, like you said, just to know what am I doing and then how is it going is, I think, just undervalued a lot in general. I mean, sometimes I think if you've come from very early stage, like I have, and I still coach founders that are in founder-led, so before inception of even company, it's so tough because you don't have metrics to go off of. And so you have to create almost not fake ones, but baseline things.
You can't have conversion rate if you don't have something, you know what I mean? That type of initial
Right.
that kind of what you're getting at?
So the podcast that Mandy and I have, Your Future Biz, the way it's designed is it actually starts at like inception of company all the way through the whole like customer journey of what you do and what you build. And the first real episode is kind of about like, okay, do you have anything here and how do you test it and validate it? And one of the tips that we say is like, well, you should probably go talk to 100 people that you think could be your ICP because you're not fully sure yet. And then see if it's really a real problem that you can solve. But I don't want you to just go find 100. I want you to find 10 a week first. Once you did that 10, what did you learn from that 10? And then how can you narrow that for the next 10 and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a big difference than going and just grabbing 100 people at one time and doing it in those steps.
I feel like I said earlier, the future of sales is marketing. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but I also believe the future of marketing is customer experience. Right. So in the same vein, it's the most impactful thing I've done here is this. I mean, you're not a customer, but talking to customers is like, I know what we say about the product. What do you use it for? And it's like mind blowing the type of feedback you get. Your third number, what is it, Lindsay?
So my third number is 14.
I do love the number 14. I have no idea what it
is. I don't think I've ever written about it either, so it's not like something someone could search for necessarily. So 14 was the age I was when I quit ice skating. And I had been a very competitive ice skater for nearly 8 years. And, it kind of becomes like your identity when you're in a sport like that, when you do it that long. And I should have quit probably easily a year before I did. Probably 2. And I came downstairs one morning because when you are an ice skater, you have to do it. I don't know why, but you have to do it early in the morning before school starts. I just had like tears, like I wasn't like crying, just like tears, kind of coming out of my eyes. My mom just went, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I just went, "I don't want to be an ice skater anymore." And she just went, "Oh, thank God." And I never went back. And I was so attached to not quitting that I was willing to be unhappy about it for that long and do a really good job at not like bold-faced lying, but like being able to convince my own parents that this was what I still really wanted to do. And it was also the realization that I wasn't going to be the next Christy Yamaguchi, which is what I wanted to be since I was 3, right?
Yeah.
Like when I saw her win gold, I was like, that is what I want to do. And you have to be honest with yourself to know, like, I'm not good enough to do that.
Did you experience some level of that too? Not transitioning is probably the wrong word, but like this dream is over. I'm aware of it. Now what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, what do I turn all this dedication and energy and enthusiasm towards?
Parents say you can be anyone you want to be. You can do whatever you want. I've learned that it's actually not great. There's flip sides to everything. So my favorite therapist I've ever had, I don't remember what I was talking to her about essentially, but she ended up asking me like, did you have parents that were like really supportive? And I was like, yeah, you're the best. She was like, okay. And then, she kind of asked me a little bit more, but I could sense that it wasn't like, that's so good for you. Well, one, I think it can sometimes create a little bit of delusion for some people and some personality types, right? You see those kids that are really horrible at something and the parents are like, you can do whatever you want to do, instead of being like, look, this isn't going to be your thing. Let's figure out what is your thing. When I suddenly lost my favorite job I ever had, when I had full-time jobs, it was so hard for me. It was just, my role was so suddenly made redundant. And my CEO, even had told me like, this was a very sudden decision. I could tell, because I'm like, I would have known, right? Like I just felt like the rug was pulled from under me more than anything that ever happened. And I had put so much, again, of like my identity as being like an executive revenue leader, And it was gone in an instant. And so I felt like I'm never going to find a job like this again, where the company is the way it was, which is not true, but like, it was just, and I did it again. It was kind of like this identity thing. So you look back and I'm like, while I would have never suggested that anyone have it happen the way it did for me, to now have my own business and do the things I've been doing for, almost 3 years now, I had to go through again, realizing so many times, like, my title has nothing to do with how valuable my work is. The amount of the OTE has nothing to do with how good I am at what I'm doing or whatever, or like a milestone in my life. Like a lot of those things that you just get really attached to when you're working and you care about career progression a lot and things like that. So, there's so many things now that I look at with my kids where I'm like, you can technically be anything you want to be to an extent, but also
asterisk.
Yeah. Well, like my 12-year-old wants to be a professional basketball player. Like that's genuinely his like thing right now. And I'm like, all right. What else do you want to also do? Right.
I appreciate it, Lindsay.
Yeah, of course.
If you saw this, please subscribe. God, my kid's going to make fun of me for saying that. Go check out our YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yeah, BSCN. Thank you for watching this episode of Numbers Known, and we'll see you next time. What a fun conversation. Appreciate Lindsay for doing that. We are beyond pink over here, putting the hat back on to stay on brand, always be branding, ABB. We're going to go to a quick commercial from a recent podcast show event. I don't know what to call it. Road to Unbound. And we've got a pretty big guest coming up, hopefully next week, maybe the week after that, to talk about the conference that was formerly known as Inbound. I am lucky enough to be an insider this year. So was a correspondent in previous years, one of the first batches of insiders. And this is part of a story. Check it out. Quick commercial. Yeah, there wasn't a question, just weighing in on the concept of that, because George's point was like, I submitted an Inbound talk 2 years ago that was phrased like the $1 billion pitch, right? HubSpot, formerly known as Inbound. I don't know how I'm going to navigate that crap during this, but Unbound had a $1 million pitch contest, right? And I submitted my talk that was like the $1 billion pitch, expanding TAM to $76 billion or something like that. And the only way for a total addressable market to get bigger is for people that don't know or care or they need to be aware of what HubSpot is. I live in Mississippi. HubSpot is a dirty spot on your, like the outside of your wheel well. So that people don't. Wow. Yeah, I've been saving that one for a while, George, just for you. People don't know what it is and don't know the impact. So there is some need now to grow the addressable market and grow the people that can be influenced, can have their lives changed by what we have experienced. That they need to give a crap about, number one, like the idea of learning and being exposed to new things. Number two, I think the people on this call and the stories we tell. So that's where the non-question was going. Having some layout problems. Yeah, interesting. Spoiler alert, didn't get accepted as a speaker with that idea. Probably could have written it better, but I do still think it's important. Speaking of which, speaking of HubSpot, the next thing we're going to talk about is very likely to include that. This is Show Me Your Tech Stack with Matt Bolian. So I'm going to take a break real quick. And one of the coolest, most innovative people in social outreach right now, he is the co-founder of First Touch and a really, really sharp dude. I don't know if I should talk about what's happening next week, but you should stay tuned in. It's an update with First Touch. Here's Michael and Matt with Show Me Your Tech Stack.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Show Me Your Stack. I'm joined by the one and only co-founder of First Touch, Michael Kurson. I say your last name right? If I did.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sweet. Welcome. I am pumped to have you here for a lot of reasons, two of which are someone that is 100% focused in the HubSpot ecosystem, the go-to-market, including you'll have an investor named Darmesh Shaw, may have heard of them. And number two is I like spending time with you. So more time like this is always fun. Welcome, Michael. Excited to hear about your stack today.
Awesome. Thanks, Bullion. Yeah, it's been awesome to getting to know you. Like, thank you for being so welcoming in the HubSpot community. Matt's been doing a great job, like teaching me the ropes. We're the newbies on the block. It means a lot, and excited to be here.
Sweet. Well, let's jump right into it. I have a Thor hammer that I'll be hitting every time you tell me something I really like. Please tell me, what is stack number 5 for you on the most important go-to-market tech for you to run first touch?
Yeah, number 5 on the stack is Happily. Where does the future of go-to-market live? We think it lives in 3 places. We think it lives on social, which is LinkedIn. We think it lives in person, which is events. And we think it lives in Slack, which is where we communicate asynchronously with all of our customers, prospects, and partners. So number 5 on the stack is Happily. That's how we manage all of our events and in-person activations. It allows us to collect all the data that we need from the folks that we chat with and then bring it right into HubSpot, which is where we activate and use all of that data.
Yeah, I have not used Happily yet, and I feel like I'm behind the curve. I am thinking about, let's tell Max and Dax we need to do something for the admin plus party this year. You're getting Happily because we're doing more and more in-person events than we have in the past, as you said. So what's number 4? What is the 4th most important stack for you?
Yeah, number 4. Number 4 is a company called Pylon. Pylon is a technology that sits on top of Slack, and it allows you to manage Slack at scale. So we have over 200 Slack channels now that we've created since the beginning of this year. Again, combination of partners, customers, prospects, et cetera. And it allows us to manage all of that communication at scale, doing things like broadcasts. So every time we launch a new feature, which we launch new features every week, we're able to broadcast that to everybody in our Slack. Every time an open issue is created, we're able to identify and execute across it. So basically, like, puts a platform on top of Slack to make it a much more manageable platform to manage all of your customers and relationships.
I think I've thought about using Pylon before, and then I didn't. And I don't remember why. For someone like me that doesn't use it, what would be the one thing that you would say, I never have to do this now that I have Pylon? Like, what's the number one thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one feature that I really like, because I'm mostly on the go-to-market side. I'm not doing like every bit of customer success. There is the ability to essentially go in and prompt and ask questions of what's happening in Slack at scale to understand, like, hey, what are the big issues that people are facing right now? What are the things that people are liking the most? What are people commonly saying across our customer base or partner base? So just getting like a sentiment analysis and being able to understand what's happening really, really quickly at scale has been incredibly helpful.
I might go look them up right after this again. Michael, what's the number 3?
Number 3 on the list is Ask Elephant. Ask Elephant is what we use to do all of our call intelligence. This has been a huge one for us. The reason that it's huge is because I no longer create deal records. They happen automatically with the workflows that we've built in Ask Elephant. We've been really intentional about building this stack. Like, I think one thing that can get lost in translation is that this is not like a set it and forget it type of thing, right? Like, each of these pieces of technology in our stack allow us to do awesome things, but they need to be managed almost like as if they're an employee, right? So like, the effort of management is now no longer as focused on the people, but it's focused on the process, and you have to be really diligent about it to make it work well. So Ask Elephant allows us to auto-create deals, deal progression. As I close deals, they auto-close in our CRM, and handoffs are created and passed to our CS team. Follow-ups after meetings are auto-drafted for me to go edit and approve and send. So this has been an incredibly valuable piece of technology to our stack because it essentially allows us to run our HubSpot autonomously.
Those are one thing, and I didn't mention at the beginning is Michael and team, when you think about what it will look like to do a AI native go-to-market stack in this time, when you're talking to them that this is what you get the potential to learn. And so I love hearing, how are you going to market? Because it's a smaller team as you're getting that 500K AR and you're pushing, which also means you're wicked fast and you're using the best tech. So love hearing it. We also are Ask Elephant Shop, and I'm not using it as well as you. And and part of it is because I have too many people. It's hard to get. So I'm going to copy. I heard you post about it, but I have not made the change of like auto deal progression and auto creation of deals. So I love that.
Yep.
Okay. What's number two?
Number two, you know it pretty well. I would imagine that you're aware of it. It's called Supered. Supered is number two. The reason Supered is number two is for two reasons. A big part of the way that we run our go-to-market at First Touch is a combination of orchestration and automation. But the most valuable piece of the way that we run our GTM is the human in the loop portion, and making sure that the human in the loop portion works. So our business is to operationalize social. What does that mean? It means get your team on social, engaging one-to-one with their prospects through the comments, through tagging prospects in posts that might be relevant to them, by creating one-to-one awareness in public that compounds over time. Now, our platform can go out and help you build connections and run outreach and track all of that data back to the CRM to understand the impact of this process. But the biggest differentiator between the companies that are doing amazingly well on our platform, companies like Ask Elephant, who are booking over 100 meetings a month with a 4-person team on LinkedIn, on social all day long, and the teams that are booking maybe 6 to 8 meetings a month using our platform, the biggest differentiator is the human aspect, the human in the loop, the humans going out and taking human actions, non-AI. And Supered is the platform that allows us to work with our customers and partners to do that really, really effectively. And then the second piece is, we have a pretty big focus on our tech partners and tech solutions. Agencies are incredibly important to the way that we run our go-to-market, because we want these companies to be able to implement our software as deeply into the nucleus of the business as possible, right? Which Bullion has been extremely helpful for me on, right? And this may seem biased, but the reality is this is just part of the reason why we've become fast friends. And, Bullion's been a mentor to me, is because the agency and partner program is so important to us. And Supered allows us to take what's working, right, from a setup perspective. And a lot of these are relatively similar, right? It's like, how do we manage inbound better? How do we do ABM better? How do we do conference and event follow-up better? And how do we increase attendance? A lot of these plays are relatively similar. And Supered allows us to basically create these plays and then copy and paste them across our user base and partner ecosystem as well.
Yes, I like that. That's a good one. The big thing here is I am very, very, very pro, and even from your AI native, using Ask Elephant, using agents, you're very, very pro AI. I'm very, very pro AI. I use AI to relieve a lot of the admin burden. In fact, we're about to build much of that into Supered itself, period. The future of go-to-market is the first touch, maybe, of the humans. It is going to be, how are you doing human touch at scale? And that's the big question I think we'll be answering here for the next maybe the next decade. Okay, Michael, what is tool number one? Let me know.
All right, tool number one for us has been First Touch. So, yep, no shame in that. This year, we've been thankful enough to book over 300 meetings using our platform as a one-person GTM team. Our tool has been the core of our go-to-market engine. How have we done it? Why First Touch? Well, there's the human in the loop aspect. So I spend a lot of my day, if you look at my LinkedIn, a lot of my day is spent engaging with other people, right? You got to give before you get, and you got to give to get. The second piece of our go-to-market is posting. So I post on LinkedIn almost every day, probably 6 days a week at this point. Some of them do great, some of them don't. But the reality is, over time, if you can get decent at creating content that brings your audience in, and it doesn't really matter how many likes you get. What matters is, are the right people seeing your content, the people that are actually interested or could get value from the products or businesses that you're creating. And so what we've done is we've created this social engine that builds awareness, right? built in two ways. One, I go out and build the awareness. I go engage with people. And two, we post. Our product goes out and collects all of that awareness. So all the people that have liked my posts, all the people that have engaged, we're going to qualify that for ICP. We're going to remove the people that are not in our target market. We're going to go out and make sure that we're taking the best shots every single day on social, because you only get 20 connects and 20 connect requests and 20 DMs per day. So you got to make sure you're taking the right ones. And we use our platform day in and day out to make sure that not only are we taking the right shots on LinkedIn, but that we're using awareness and signals to understand who we should engage and when. And so this process has worked really well for us. It's something that has worked well for several other businesses as well. And so for that reason, first touch number one. Now, the one thing I'd be remiss to not mention, everyone's talking about Claude and AI. I actually think of AI a little bit differently than like technology. I think of it a little bit more like electricity, right? Like it should be in every part of your business. It should be basically the operating system of how you run your business. And so for that reason, like I'm not going to call out a specific AI platform. We use all of them in First Touch. You can plug in any of them that you'd like. They are interchangeable and you can kind of decide what you want. We optimize for what we think has the best performance at any given time. But throughout like our entire business, of course, we're using AI. We think of it like electricity. It's like, how can we do what we're doing faster and better? And how can we make sure that we're collaborating as effectively as possible and not wasting each other's time?
Well, I love it. I love it. We are going to actually be doing a webinar. We're going to talk about, because we are also a big operationalizing LinkedIn or SurroundBound, whichever. We have a similar go-to-market. We'll be talking about how we use First Touch to amplify our strategy. It'll be coming in May, and we'll be chatting about that. So if you want to learn that strategy, we'll give you everything, and First Touch may be able to lift and shift some things to you as well using Super. Okay, Michael, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for today. If people want to talk to you after, what's the best way to find you? I'm assuming it's LinkedIn. Best way.
Yeah, hit me on LinkedIn. I will be there. You're also welcome. Yeah, welcome to join our Slack as well. That's something that we typically do after we have a conversation with folks. But yeah, hit me on LinkedIn. I'll be there, and I look forward to meeting you guys.
Okay, everybody stay awesome, keep doing it big, and never, ever, ever stop believing. Adios.
That Super Hammer has potential to be the coolest thing that we have as a swag gift, but Matt has made it annoying because he drops it and hits his screen with it and all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, that was super interesting. I like how Super was number 2 in that. Most people that have done this have ranked HubSpot up at the top and some other stuff. I like the tools to keep an eye on. It seems like there's more and more a growing list of those every single day. So we appreciate Michael for hopping on. Quick commercial here. We have a ton of event content from Southbound. So this is a completely hilarious, ridiculous, impossible question interview with Brian Kreutz, who spoke at Southbound. It's an impossible question that 89% of people have a sales process defined and only 36% of teams follow it. That being the why is that? That being the inspiration for what you're about to see here.
Sales enablement is a difficult question. Solving the revenue modeling that makes sense and includes everybody at the company is hard.
Yep.
I was inspired by that to create some other impossible questions to answer. Question 1. What's the difference between an orange?
Several differences. Which one do you want to know?
That is incorrect. 2. If a deal closes in HubSpot and a rep isn't around to update the CRM, does it make a sound?
Absolutely not. No gong played that day.
That's not bad. 3. How many kilometers is Tuesday?
Bulgogi.
I think he's just messing with me now. The next one. At what specific temperature does a sales playbook become optional?
69.
That is correct. Name a color that only exists on the 3rd Thursday of the month.
Red.
No, that is incorrect. Another one, final one. 89% of orgs have a defined process that only 36% of their teams follow. Why is this?
They don't use Super enough.
I didn't even pay him to say that. That's probably it.
Well.
Thanks, Brian. Can't wait for your next
Thanks,
session.
Ron. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Shout out to Brian for that. That interview was one of the more fun ones I've done. the impossible question list inspired by my dad, who used to do stuff like this all the time. Yeah, very impossible question to answer. Why don't more people follow process? Thank you for that answer. In that, well, they don't use super. We have one final show, one final pod episode. This is how to scale a business to elite. So Fast and Furious, Matt is returning as the host of this one, and we have Ash Collyer as the person that is revealing to us the insights he's learned over the past. Feels like he's scaled to elite in a matter of 10 minutes. I know that's not the case, but enjoy. I'll be back to close it out. And here's Fast and Furious.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Fast and Furious. Today, I'm joined with a pretty special guest, Ash Collyer from Forbidden. He is founder and strategy director. Why they're special is I often talk to people that are tiering. I don't often talk to people that have tiered to elite in 24 months from starting and becoming a partner, and from essentially employee number one, 18 months to elite in terms of how long it took them to get there. That's really darn fast. So I'm excited to learn from Ash today. Welcome to Fast and Furious.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. Hey everybody! So everybody knows this is Ash's first podcast, so let's all be nice. Let's all be nice to him as we're talking. Well, you can't talk to him anyway. It's just me talking to him, so it'll be okay. Ash, what in the world? Just talking about your journey. What led to the special set of events that said I want to become a HubSpot partner and grow really fast? Because those two things are not always the same.
Two parts there. So yeah, my probably useful context, my background. I've been in marketing for coming up 15 years. Had been in-house, been in agency, and I first got introduced to HubSpot whilst in head of group marketing role. So led the implementation for a couple of companies in a group, and that was really my first taste of HubSpot nearly 10 years ago. So that's kind of where my sort of love of HubSpot began, and eventually left employment and was doing a level of marketing consultancy and HubSpot consultancy. And that was just as myself, became a provider. And yeah, it became
providers. Rest in peace, providers.
was a good stepping stone. But yeah, so the demand for HubSpot support and my unique background was growing quickly, and it made sense to become a partner. About 2.5 years ago now.
So I'm gonna ask you a few more questions on this. When you use the word group, it means you add a few brands, and you for each one of those brands you did the full implementation of HubSpot as part of those groups.
Yeah, so I was leading the marketing, setting up departments from scratch for a family-owned group of businesses, and yeah, we did a couple of rollouts in that group. Did a couple more in the subsequent group, and yeah, that's where it all began.
Well, let's say you almost were like an agency-like place, except you got to stand up fresh HubSpots over and over again. You're some people are a bit jealous. I bet. Okay, so you got 10 years ago, you really got into HubSpot. Since you started, because that's 10 years, HubSpot has the ecosystem's matured, the product has matured. You said you started in marketing. The EMEA market has matured as people have gone in and get into it. So you said, hey, I want to become a partner. What other was special 2 years ago? What made it was okay, now's the right time? Is it the ecosystem? Was it the product? Was it the demand in the market? What made you say, okay, I'm gonna bet my house on this. I'm gonna bet my future on this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think HubSpot's come a long way. A lot of companies have, and something we're seeing increasingly, a lot of companies are struggling to maximize the potential from it, maybe don't know where to start. So that's what I was helping clients with, typically more where they had HubSpot already and were struggling. My background was quite unique in that respect, helping them identify some of the ways they could move forward. And from there it evolved quite organically. So yeah, it wasn't when we first sort of set out, it wasn't that we suddenly had these grand plans, but we've done ultimately good work has led on to more good work. So that's where we've gone.
So you, I often I've talked to a lot of different HubSpot entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. Few, and I use the word few, I mean probably 4 in the entire ecosystem. When I say a few, man, count on your fingers the number of people that have scaled tiers as fast as you have. And if you said I happened into becoming a partner. What changed? Maybe there wasn't a change, but like, what's the mindset? What changed to say, okay, I am going to go from a small shop, custom boutique shop. Not that you're not custom boutique now, but a custom boutique shop to being a powerhouse, like a name brand in the HubSpot ecosystem. What changed your ambition? What changed?
I think there was a realization. So I think probably where am I best used was kind of a first point. Where did I want to be in the business? And ultimately that started the journey of where do we hire? What skills do we need? What does that start looking like if things go well, 6-12 months time? Which in fairness we've had to, it's been a very fluid picture over the last 2 years.
So what I hear you saying is there's a certain type of burden that a smaller organization has, and there's a question is, say, where do I want to be? How do I want this organization to look, say 5 years from now? And what you had at the moment where you wanted to go were not the same, and so that's part of the ambition that changed. Is that correct, or is that wrong?
Yeah, partly. I think probably like a lot of early stage businesses as well, though, you start out and you're doing everything, which with the best will in the world, typically you're not doing everything well. So the busier I got, we then brought in freelance consultants to begin with pre-hiring, and that sort of shaped maybe what we needed, where I am not the best person to be doing that work or particular things. So that was very much the earlier stage of the business, which still feels early stage now. It doesn't feel that long ago, but that was kind of what shaped where we started and where I needed to get out of the way.
Let's I'm sure let's go a bit about the scale. So just before we get into that, just be if as transparent as you want to be, or is not. Where are you at today in terms of number of employees and revenue, and what is your goal? I guess there's half of the year left, really. Today we're recording this in April. It'll probably come out around May. So what's your H2 goal by the end of the year? Hey, today we're here, and by the end of the year, I'd like to achieve X.
So our financial year runs to the end of July. We'll have grown again about 150% this year. If anything, we're trying to slow that down. But so essentially steadying out the growth and building out the scale and capability across the business to really push that. Something that we're looking at internally is, what does elite actually mean for us as a business? Yes, we've got to that ranking, but how does that sort of translate into a day-to-day experience for a client?
Received. You sound like someone that thinks deeply and methodically about these subjects. So I'm gonna ask some questions. Say, y'all employee-wise, where y'all sit right now?
So we're up to 13 full-time, 5 full-time consultants on top contracting. So a team of 18, but yeah.
So let's look. So you went from 2 years ago, you had, how many people was it? Was it you plus some contractors, or was it, okay, so.
First employee was October 2024.
Okay, so 18 months. So when you started, it was you plus, I guess, every now and then you bring contractors in when you needed help. So
Exactly.
when you look back over these last 2 years, what were the 3 most difficult challenges that you had to overcome as a business, going from 0 to essentially 18 people that are reporting into the organization that you're doing, and getting
Um,
from partner or essentially provider from provider to elite?
I think the big problem initially, again, scaling very quickly, was processes and structure and systems to cope with the growth. I think probably one of our best decisions that we've made was we brought David, our head of delivery, in, was our second employee. So yes, we grew very quickly, but the structure, background, sort of skills and everything else, systems, processes, were being built out in tandem. So that was a big challenge.
And David, what was special about David? You said, so your employee number 2 seems like it was a expensive headcount or expensive employee that you made a bet on, and you transitioned out of delivery as your full time and mostly into sales. So I'm hearing you like the decision that you made for this time, which it feels like, guys, if you go back, I bet you felt like you were like, all right, this is the biggest bet. I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. Feels like it's such a big bet. Put you on that mindset of what about David, looking back, what made him not a bet, but the best, one of the better decisions you've made?
David had previously helped get another partner to Elite, so that, yeah, from was I the best person to help scale our systems and processes? No. David, obviously, that, yes, there was a risk at the time of it was a gamble, as it probably is with any business at that point, but bringing in that expertise where it's a tried and tested kind of person who's been there, done that, knows where we needed to get to. So it's definitely accelerated the trial and error piece, whereas we know, or we knew what we needed, and we still know what we're still working towards.
Mm-hmm. So first was you needed to, sounds like delivery was not where you wanted to be long term, and so getting founder-led delivery and transitioning it to employee-led delivery. That was the first challenge, and the way you solved that was having a tried and true, trusted, someone that had been in the ecosystem before. It's almost like in football or soccer, someone that's gone from League One to championship, like they've got promoted before. So can you do it again? And so bringing somebody in like that.
And a very different model to the agency he previously worked at. So very different, but still that knowledge and learning that we sort of accelerated for ourselves. Yeah, that was definitely challenge 1. I think one of the other, not necessarily challenge, it probably is a challenge, has been how to structure the team. So we've doubled headcount again this financial year, and what worked 6 months ago doesn't work now. So we've gone through a few structural changes in terms of how do we set the delivery team up, for example, to deliver really good projects. As we've grown, we're working on bigger, more complex, in-depth projects, and we've, up until recently, we'd always had one consultant working with one client. That was the way we worked. Which, when we get to some of the large projects we're working on now, that doesn't scale. So we've rejigged the team. We've split those into pods. We have broader capability in each pod now, where we can tag team certain projects. So the challenge of that structure was the challenge, and it's evolving in terms of how we then solve that.
And then third challenge, I have like challenges in my mind that I want to ask you about, but like in your mind, as you're thinking about, what is the number one is, hey, we need to solve delivery, and I need someone in that can help me do this really well, and I'm going to make a bet early. Challenge and understanding that. Challenge 2 is then, how are we going to deliver this? How do we structure the team? And I'm sure there's a lot of failures in all of this, right? Doing it wrong and then getting it right. You move to a pod structure, which I'm assuming is a 5 accounts, 3 accounts with a distributed team. You have like a data per these different per pod. Now you're challenge 3. That was like, okay, we had to solve this so that we could grow. What was the thing that caused the most friction?
Keeping up with demand. Again, every growing partner will have that challenge. So balancing what we could feasibly deliver, how we could deliver it. Sometimes saying no to the projects where that wasn't maybe the right one for us, which is never easy. But and I think knowing where we are strong, that's been your service evolves, your people evolve, but we've been lucky so far that everyone we've employed is still with us. I appreciate it's a small time frame, but we still have the team. Everyone who's started with us is still here.
That's something to be pretty proud of, because that's not common. So congrats. One of the challenges that I heard you say, I think is very common, is, and I just understand how you've done this tightrope and walk this. It is how do I create demand and how do I fulfill demand? And I think they're the same side of a different coin. And so how have you done? Have you ever you never want to stop demand. You never want to stop creating demand, because if you stop creating demand, it's very difficult to restart. And the best way to not stop creating demand is to always have capacity for another job. So how have you balanced that? And you've thought about, for you, Forbidden, when you're creating deals, and how have you walked that tightrope of creating deals and then serving deals? What mechanisms are you in place?
Yeah, so always a tricky one. We've ultimately we built out a sales team quite early on, so that creating the demand hasn't been the problem. We've been fortunate in that respect. We've got a fairly proven model as to how we go and generate opportunities.
If you mind me asking, is that like a 3-person, 2-person sales team? Is that
so? As of today, we're up to 4, including some of myself.
Wow. Okay, that's a bit different than other partners. It's just helpful to hear is that that is most partners can't afford that, so it's just a.
So I think one of the best bits of advice I got from one of the HubSpot team at Inbound, probably September 2024, was the partners who were growing quickly had that dedicated sales resource, which we weren't at that point then. I was still spinning plates. So that shaped quite a lot of where we went over the last 18 months, really. And most partners, it's a fairly proven model of you build out a sales resource and that will feed a number of consultants. So it's a relatively repeatable model. But yeah, it's something that we've grown organically. We've grown through a lot of inbound and referral, and we're now at the point where we're trying to build a best-in-class outbound function at the early stages of.
Well, as we start coming towards the end of the convo, what is, and you may have mentioned this, it's okay if it's the same thing, you want to reiterate it. What's one thing, now having done this journey, that hopefully next time we talk, it's one thing you'll never do again? What's one thing? Hey guys, if I give you this, just don't do this.
I think you've knowing what you're really good at and what you're not. That's been the thing that's been the biggest learning experience of this last 18 months. There are things I am very good at. There are things that I should be nowhere near. And
do you have a story that would help us understand something, just to make it real for the audience?
So I think yes, probably Matt is the short answer. and it's always been a laughing sort of matter. But yeah, I think an example would be, so early days, I was essentially doing a bit of everything. I was starting the project, I was delivering them. For those who know me well, I'm not the person to manage your project effectively. So yes, I have very good skills in certain areas. I'm not the best project manager. So that's something that by default I don't typically run projects for us anymore. We've built out the structure, but that was probably one of those examples where early on that was an identified weakness, and we've resolved that in that particular way of bringing in sort of the right people far more experienced than myself in that area as well. So and given us that structure and that we needed.
Same question, but a bit different. What's the one thing that and for this is if there's something else that comes to mind here, I think it'd be fun to say. What's one thing you wish you would have done earlier? If you're giving a piece of advice to yourself 2 years ago, like, hey, Ash, do this thing. What would you told yourself?
I've had quite a few conversations with a handful of partners at the early stage of sort of where we were, and I think that just comes back to, if I'd have identified the bits that I was better at sooner, all of the smaller partners are typically, they're still founder led. They're doing a little bit of everything. I think the earlier you can identify where do you add best, sort of the most value to what you're doing, and very much that sort of strengths and weaknesses piece of try and fill the gaps either way, and focus on what you're really good at, because that's I think that's something we've done fairly well, and trying to get the right people in the right place, which is never easy.
Is there a framework we use to understand how you put the right people in the right place that you would recommend, something you follow?
Quite an interesting piece of work we did last year was insights profiling with the team. But in all honesty, it's been much more about drawing down on paper, where are we now, who's in seat, what does that team, maybe forget the people, but fast forward 6-12 months, if it goes well, what roles and skills do we need in the business? And then you start plugging the people into who you've already got in house, but it quite quickly identifies where there's gaps.
That's a really good piece of advice, everyone. If you draw what do you want to look like 6 months, 12 months, do it functional, and then see, do I have the people that are all fitting in this, and does somebody perhaps want to try to have the potential to step in and show that they want to become that. It's a good management.
I think one of the other bits around that is that there's often not a perfect scenario. So there still are times internally where we identify there's a gap, and there will still be instances where someone sort of takes part of that or evolves and that's where we're maybe looking to hire next.
So it's a question, and this will be this is the last question before we wrap up. Is there any big bet you're making for the future? You said, hey, we're trying to stabilize, we want to make sure we get capacity. What's your big bet that you're investing in? Even if you're decreasing, you're still investing in something. What's the bet, and where are you investing in this season?
People are probably fed up of the words, aren't they? But kind of AI capability. So a lot of what we do isn't HubSpot driven. It's process, sort of herding cats, understanding how companies need to work. Underlying all of that, though, is ensuring we're at the top of our game on not only HubSpot's AI capabilities, but the surrounding sort of infrastructure and capabilities that allow you to do more with less. So not necessarily for internally, but for our clients, there's some of the value we deliver as essentially business consultants. HubSpot's the end technology, but they're asking more around where else does technology fit into our sort of into our world. Most of them aren't ready for AI in a lot of the conversations of, but it's still the starting point. People want to know where it fits.
Yeah, there's something. At least I live in this LinkedIn overse where everyone's posting all these crazy skills and look what I've created with AI. When you talk to some people running businesses, that is just not how they're thinking about it. If anything, there's a giant gap to be filled by companies that's not even robust use of it that will still have marked, not marginal improvements, large improvements to the business. In general. So, okay, Ash, I just want to say thank you. Some of the journey when I did Rev Partners back in the day, and we scaled. We did Elite quickly as well. And one of the things we did, I just want to say some of the journey that's the same, is the first thing we did was hire and make a big bet on head of delivery. So I just want people to hear is like that's a good move, and it feels like danger, red flag, and I can't think of if we wouldn't have done that, it would have been impossible because you don't want me running your project either, like in the same way if I was back in the day. Like there's reality to that, and the reality number two is getting out of founder-led anything. So like founder-led delivery is, I would say, number one, but getting rid of founder-led sales is, and once you can sit at that point, you can start to think about the structure. A lot of what I've seen Ash is he's thinking about the structure of the company. That's very difficult to do if you are the only person in said function. So Ash, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your giving back to the community and sitting on here with us. Hopefully we'll be able to talk again. And when you have 40 plus, 50 plus employees and you have a whole slew of new problems.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me, Matt. Appreciate that.
Appreciate everybody. Stay awesome. Keep doing it big. Until next time, never stop believing. Adios.
That's it for BSTN. Shout out to all the special guests and co-hosts, Lindsay, the other Lindsay, Rios, Ash, Michael Kurson, Matt. Thank you for that. See you next Thursday at 1. Adios.